Let's talk about multipass rendering here in Cinema 4D. Often when you finish a project, Cinema 4D is not the last place that the project is going to end up. A lot of the times you're going to go into a compositing program like After Effects, and that's what we're going to take a look at in this video. So I had this basic animation, this visible TV, very simple animation, 100 frames, and the visible TV and the TV itself are animating on through the course of the animation. The idea behind the multipass rendering is that I can come over here to my render settings, and under multipass I can choose the different passes that I want to render out separately, and then when I composite them back into my compositing program like After Effects, then I can isolate those passes and work with them individually. So in this example, I have an object buffer, I have ambient occlusion, RGBA image, and a shadow pass. Let me just render this real quick so you can see what it looks like. And so we have our visible text, the TV, some shadows. What I want to do in After Effects is I want to isolate the text so that I can maybe give it a different color. Let's just close that up. And if we come back over here and we look at our object buffer, I've got an object buffer with group number 1 on it. Now, if I come over here and look at my compositing tag that I have on my text, you can see that I have object buffer and 1 is selected. So I know that text is going to be part of my black and white object buffer that I render out here that I can use in After Effects. Now let's look at this. We have a TV here. And I've also got the object buffer 1 on the front of the TV screen. So that's also going to be included. Now I could separate that out if I wanted to, but in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and choose the screen of the TV and the text as object buffer 1 so that I can isolate those and make changes to them both at the same time. So we'll go back up to the render settings. I have my multipass selected. I go to output. I'm going to do 800 by 600, and I want to make sure that I have all frames selected. If I go to save, I want to give this a file name, and we'll call it multipass. I've already actually rendered this out, so we don't have to sit here and do that again. And for the multipass, I've got this under a separate directory called multi. So I'll look under here. I've got the render. I've got the save file being saved under the render. And I have the multipass file being saved under multi. Okay. The last thing that you'd want to put in here is a compositing tag or your AEC file. So you'd want to click on save and include 3D data. Now, the creation of the AEC file is a plugin that is provided to you when you install Cinema 4D. So make sure that you have installed this or you won't have the ability to do this right here. I think everything else is okay. Let's go to anti-aliasing. We'll put best. And ambient occlusion is selected. Okay, I think we're good. So at this point, we just click render, and then we head off to After Effects. So let's go to After Effects. And what I can do now is I can double click here, and here's my multipass AEC file. That's the plugin I was just talking about. So if we double click that, it's going to bring our files in, and we can just open this up, double click, and we have our files here. We want to take this file right here and pull this down to the bottom. And now we have our file in After Effects. Now, what I said I wanted to do was to isolate this text in the front of the screen. So what I need to do is come over here and take my multipass file, create a new comp. Okay, we'll just put that in there like that. I'm going to grab my object buffer pass. I'm going to take that and I'm going to drag that on top. And you can see we have that black and white. And now what we need to do is come over here and choose LumaMat. And now we have just that isolated. So we can take this multipass 2, drop it in our main comp. And now if I come and take like a hue saturation and put that on top of it, I can play around with the colors there. So that is the power of multipass rendering here in Cinema 4D.